Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining our weekly call. This week, we're looking at something I think is just probably the most important aspect around health and living a life of health, and that is your support network. And I'm joined today by Dr. Geraldine Brosfield. And we're going to do a little short presentation for you on basically building your support network to improve and support your health and those around you.
Thank you for joining us. You know, like Robert just said, building a support system is probably the number one thing you can do to stay moving forward in your health goals. And so we're going to talk about several ways that you can do that. There are a lot of different types of support. This is a great version of support. This is an online webinar that you're joining, a call that you're joining. And many of you have taken support classes or health classes, even if it's a class at the gym. All kinds of classes or groups can be supportive in your community. Robert, you want to talk a little bit about coaching?
Sure. And also, if you're involved in any of our challenges, that's sort of like a group or a class. Personal coaching, if you have a coach or mentor, someone that you're accountable to and with and find support, that's a great place. Role models, someone that you look up to, even if it's third party and you just paste their picture on your wall, that still sort of counts. The people around you, the friends around you, what they do is what you're going to end up doing usually. And you want to wrap it up, Geraldine? You know a lot about wearable technology, I know.
Well, I know a lot of my clients that are in some of our specialty coaching scenarios use wearable technology and then report back how many steps they've taken in a day, or use the wearable technology as a way to track whether or not they're exercising or eating on plan. And I think all of these different types of support have something in common, and that is that they create accountability. So any methodology that creates accountability, one thing that's not on this list, journaling, just writing down, for instance, what you eat or writing your goals down is another type of support.
And can I say something about accountability real quick? In the sense of like why is support so important? I think that a lot of people that maybe struggle or fail or just maybe tread water for a while on their way to their journey is they find themselves alone. And I think it's kind of lonely inside of your own head. If you only have yourself to talk to, yourself to get motivated by, maybe the occasional person you're talking to, it's just not enough. And I think that's why creating the social network around you, looking at these pieces, what can I put in play? You don't have to do them all of our list tonight, but looking at what could I put in play in my life will make a huge difference in helping you kind of get out of your own space and your own head and move forward towards your own goals.
I think that's true. And the thing that's always, it's this balance, because we want to create structure and external support. And also that inside our head has to stay aligned and be a place we realign over and over. Mm-hmm. So putting all the outside pieces into place help us keep on track, and then continuing even when we fail and kind of are having to start over. We ourselves have to be part of the game plan, really, as far as we have to kind of shift our own mental framework to say, hey, I'm going to keep going.
So you're going to read Mark Warner's quote here?
Sure. My success was due to good luck, hard work, and support and advice from friends and mentors. But most importantly, it depended on me to keep trying after I had failed. So being willing to pick ourselves up even when we've screwed up, and keep going again and again.
So personal responsibility.
Absolutely.
Of course, I know everyone's probably seen this on Facebook or social media. It's been around quite a bit, but it's so true. And I think of a lot of clients that you and I have had over the years. When they come to us, they don't come to us by mistake. They've tried lots and lots of things where they failed over and over and over again. They find themselves in a place of being really unhealthy, really in a bad place. They're doing lots of healthy things. They're just not getting to their goals. But they haven't given up. And they did that one last thing. They asked that one more time. They kept looking. They kept saying, yeah, will you help me? Will you help me? And they finally get to their goals. And so their life might look like that middle piece in a while for a long time, maybe for 10, 15, 20 years. But it doesn't really matter as long as you kind of get to where you want to go eventually. keep focused on what you want.
Absolutely. So when you are supporting yourself, there are several things that you can do that are great ways to support yourself from an internal standpoint. So one is realistic goal setting. And this is an area that if any of you want to do more specifically, we would invite you to contact us and do a goal setting session. We love to do that with people, and it's really helpful and effective to know where you're going and where you're starting from. A lot of times we suggest that people create either a mantra or a vision board for themselves filled with things that remind them of those goals that they've created, because so often when you're kind of you're in the weeds, right? You're in the thick of navigating a holiday party, a work-related activity, a lunch out with clients, trying to even motivate yourself, for instance, to go to the gym. At those points, sometimes the only thing that can move you forward to still stick with your goals is a reminder, and making those reminders visual or habitual, I guess is the word, habitual statements that you might say to yourself, like, I can do this, I will keep going, I want optimal health, can be helpful. And then the other thing is when you're judging yourself or sort of looking at your own progress, sort of the self-evaluation that you can do with yourself, honestly, the first question ought to be, what's working? We are we have such a tendency as human beings to go to the negative and beat ourselves up. And oftentimes in being your own support, it means giving yourself a realistic grace of looking at what's working well and what you're doing well, and noticing that first, and then noticing what you're learning in the situation as it occurred, and then what would you like to do differently next time, and kind of without judgment, just giving yourself a little evaluation and deciding how you want to move forward.
Can I just mention something from Dr. A's talk last week? When Dr. A was talking about the whole idea of perspective and being growth-minded versus being like reaching a goal-minded. And growth-minded is about really you moving forward at all times rather than like getting into this perfect place. Because if we have this little perfect place in our mind, that's not really realistic. It's like the idea that we're going to look like the front of a magazine cover or whatever it might be for you. It doesn't matter what that is. Really, the idea that what we're looking for is growth. I mean, how do I get better? How do I improve? The idea of progress, not perfection. We're just moving forward is really, really important. And around these goals, I mean, it's really common to see a client lose, 5 pounds a week the first couple of weeks. It's not uncommon. And then week 3 comes along, they lose a pound. They're like, well, I don't know if I should keep doing this or not. They're down 11 pounds. They haven't lost anything in months. Now they're like, well, I don't know if I should. I guess it's okay to keep going. And just like it's just the mindset. So I would just encourage you to think about, okay, what's my mindset? Is my mindset around like just getting this little spot of perfection, or is it about doing this, about getting into a process of growth and just getting better and learning more and being surrounded by people who are doing the same thing?
Robert and I are big fans of Jim Rohn, and one of the things that we are amazed at the truth of is how much we are like the people we spend time with. So Jim Rohn said, you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And when you think about that, it's kind of an interesting little game to play in your head. So notice your 5 closest friends. And I love this visual, because if your 5 closest friends are doing what the people in this picture are doing, you may need to find a different activity to do with your friends, or some other friends to do some things with too. But what do your friends eat? What do they do for fun? How do they sleep? How much do they weigh? What's their health like? Robert, you've seen this kind of displayed in our clients' lives over and over. You want to mention a couple things that you've noticed?
Well, it's the shift. Really, most of us who are overweight tend to have overweight friends, or if we are overweight, or our family's overweight, and like we really want to create a shift in ourselves. So we have to. This is again this whole support idea. How do I find people around me to do what I'm doing? So one of the things I encourage my clients to do is just talk about what you're doing to people. For example, I have a client who's he's a traveler. He's back to Washington D.C., California, back and forth a ton. So he's out at lunch and he's just ordering, something green on his plate instead of fries with his, with his bunless burger, and his friend said, "Hey, what are you doing?" So he just tells him, "Hey, this is what I'm doing." And the friend says, "Hey, do you think I could do that too?" And so he wasn't trying to necessarily enroll someone into doing the same program he was doing, but by just being open and talking about the journey he was on, he found a weight loss partner. And really, more than that, I think of it as a health partner. And so he also found one back in California. That's something that can work for people who are busy executives. Certainly, we've seen this a lot with our stay-at-home moms or our part-time working moms. They have friends that, they drop off, pick up kids with school, and they'll tell their friends about it as well. And having 2 or 3 people around you that are doing this with you that you can check in with creates that another layer of support. And more importantly, it creates that secondary group of people now who are those 5 closest friends that might be at least your health friends that you're going to emulate. And eventually, you might create a pull around the people that are around you who are unhealthy, who haven't lost weight. And if you stay where you're staying, either you're going to pull them where you're at, or they're going to pull you where they are. So just know you have a tremendous ability to help those around you just by moving forward in your own health.
So one of the things that Robert and I have experienced with health coaching is that there's some real support and accountability with health coaching that goes a long, long ways. So Robert, do you want to talk a little bit about how we keep seeing this work in our own lives and in our coaches' lives?
Well, certainly. Well, one thing, just to kind of tee this up a little bit, one opportunity for people that it's a fit for is, you could step into not just the role of being someone who on a journey, but also helping other people in their journey as well. And that's what a health coach does. A lot of our health coaches are people that work with us and with Take Shape for Life, are people who have been on program, they understand the process, they've been successful, and now they're starting to pay it forward. And I think you look at, what does that provide? What is the opportunity that provide? Well, it provides accountability. So now if you go from being the student in the classroom to being the teacher, you're going from the chair to the front of the class. That's a whole different level of accountability, right? So now all of a sudden you're on point. You have another reason to do this that's really bigger than you. And that's really important, I think, with anything that we do in life, to see who we are in relationship to something that's bigger than us. And that really helps move us forward. Then mentorship, with our company, you have people like Geraldine and I and Dr. Anderson, people who have done this for a while to a long, long time, who are very good at it, that you have to rely on. And do you want to touch on any of these yourself, Geraldine?
No, keep going.
Okay. Community, once you have a group of coaches that you're working with and around in that accountability group, you're around more like-minded people. So now you don't just have weight loss buddies, you have health coaching buddies. And it's like the teachers and the teacher. I'm using a teacher analogy, having been one in the past myself. It's like now you're going to the teacher break room and talking to the teachers about education rather than being the kids at school talking about school, in the hallway. So it's a different level of a conversation. And then purpose, seeing that, by you stepping forward or someone stepping forward and becoming a coach, you're able to really do much more. We can do much more together than we can alone. One person can help only so many people. But if several of us help work together, we can help lots more people. And that just kind of, you can see this little chain reaction. You have 4 people in the middle, but as they have people around them that work together, basically the reach or the grasp for those we can help around us just becomes exponentially large. Or just exponential, I guess is a better way to say it.
Well, and I think, in addition to the psychological benefits and the support benefits of health coaching, I think paying it forward in whatever way you do that, when you share with other people something good that's happened to you, or you try to help other people, there's a whole bunch of health benefits that happen that I feel like we don't even think about this very often, but when we help other people, there's this whole chain reaction inside of us that our own immune system gets better. It's stronger when we're helping other people. And we have less intensity of our own physical pain when we're helping other people. we've all heard of endorphins or, emotions that are helpful. And those actually help us maintain good health. Like when we feel good, it's like this synergistic effect that sort of rolls forward or spirals upward, of good emotions when we've been paying something forward. There's a reduction of our own negativity or negative thoughts, and a lot of benefits that are really related to stress relief, because paying it forward actually is a lowering of stress effect in our system when we do it. And then that whole endorphin thing, they actually have tested and noticed that when people do something that helps other people, there's literally a time of sustained endorphins. They call it a helper's high after you do something kind or good for another person. And that initial rush is actually followed by a longer period of calm, stability, and emotional well-being. So there's a ton of health benefits, even if the reason you paid it forward, so to speak, was just because you wanted to maintain your own health better. If we move to think about combining those benefits with health coaching, you can see the first thing we have on this list is maintaining your own health. And one of the things that's been a very interesting study that was done through Johns Hopkins was studying people who choose to be health coaches. And what they noticed was that when someone becomes a health coach, they are 5 times more likely to both reach their own goals if they're in process, or, we all are continuing to make health goals. So they're 5 times more likely to reach those goals. And they are more, those goals are more sustainable. So in other words, rather than just reaching some pinnacle and then falling backwards, that those benefits and goals are sustained over time. Robert, do you want to add anything to that?
Around, just going on the list here. I just think that being a health coach really helps you move forward in your own health goals. I think in the last 5+ years that we've been doing this, there have been times where, like, I've had little setbacks and I, get a little frustrated, but I just think about the people who are counting on me and, the people I'm working with. And it really just helps me shift out of that little funky space a lot quicker, just because I know I have, I'm accountable to people. And I think about the income piece about this. I think a lot of people that coach with us would do it for free. They really, really enjoy this. They would be a great little hobby. They would do it just to help people. But what I like about the way our company is structured is that a health coach is free to the client. But at the same time, they're so willing to pay the coach. So people who might just want to dabble in this, to create a little support for themselves, that maybe, let's use what I call the spare time coach, someone who has like 5 clients a month. That's what we call a senior coach in our company with Take Shape for Life. And that person's making about $4,000 a year. And that's really for an hour, maybe a couple hours a week, sometimes, some weeks, no time. But it's just a very part-time, a very spare time, not part-time, a very spare time effort to help other people and keep yourself accountable. So I think there's some, and then from there, of course, it doesn't stop there. People certainly can earn nice part-time and full-time incomes if they want to, but there's a really nice and incredible business plan created by Dan Bell that really kind of helps income earners, no matter what your goals are, as with health coaching. And looking at, you mentioned this in the last slide, but the rewards of seeing others succeed. When you have people, when you get, I don't know what work's like for you, with stresses, but with health coaching, you get a lot of the, oh, thank you. I lost 5 pounds this week, or, down the road, they've lost 70, 80, 90 pounds, 100 pounds. You get these, you've saved my life, and they keep saying it. I kind of feel embarrassed sometimes. But at the same time, it's kind of a nice thing. At least I don't have a boss yelling at me, so there's a lot of rewards watching someone else change. And if they send you little updated pictures, sometimes you can see them physically changing. You can hear them changing in their voice as well. That's just really kind of a nice thing. And even if they're in a desperate spot in the beginning, once you've helped a few people, where you can take them. So you're very confident in your ability to help people move forward to someplace if they just kind of get involved and work with you and lock elbows.
One of the things that I have loved in addition is when I mentioned here community of like-minded people, Robert and I get to surround ourselves with mentorship that's been incredible, and our team that's incredible. And so one of the things that has been a huge benefit is that there are other people around us that both are making healthy choices. They're pushing towards expanding their own health activities. And a lot of times that moves me out of my comfort zone, because their willingness to go the extra mile and keep pushing helps me keep pushing towards something better or something more, or something that would support kind of my long-term goals. So that like-minded group of people around us has been a huge benefit, not only in like personal habits of health, like not buying Oreo cookies or something that's stupid, but might be something I would tend to do occasionally. I actually don't do that because of the other people around me that remind me and that I feel accountable to. And that's been helpful also in the personal growth area, just that, the group around us that is all committed to being better people, and pursuing, like seeking out opportunities for classes or for books or for discussions or activities that are about being a better person and growing into more of the person I want to be, developing new skills or abilities, has all been really well supported by our team within Take Shape for Life.
Are we wrapping up here?
Yeah, this is our last slide, but do you want to talk about time and money freedom?
Sure. I just want to maybe mention a little to frame what we do and why this is kind of important. And I think when we look at, I know a lot of you, if you're with us as a client or one of our challenges, you've gained some success, you've gained some ground, and and if we just stop that and go back to our old life, then the chances are we're going to kind of be right back where we started eventually. And so when you think about what you do in the course of a day, about half of it is on automatic pilot. You don't even think. You get up, you brush your teeth, you probably drive sometimes to work or places and don't even remember driving, right? And that's very common. So the goal with this program, the goal with Take Shape for Life, the way it's structured, the way it's built, is really over time to help you have a new automatic pilot when it comes to healthy choices. So you don't even have to think. You basically just choose the healthy thing, because over time, that's what you've been choosing. Does that make sense? And that's why when you look at this, creating a support piece, being intentional, you have to get conscious. You have to get in the other half of what you do during that day and make conscious choices for a while so they have a chance to be automatic and unconscious. So I think that's one of the reasons why I think that health coaching is really can be an important and integral piece to some people. Even if you only do it for a while, even if you just do it part-time, it's really something you can do to help you move yourself where you're doing what you want to do and getting where you want to get, and not finding yourself back where you were 3 months ago, 6 months ago, 1 year ago, over and over and over again. And then time and money. Should we touch on that before we go?
Sure. And then there's one more thing I want to mention. Okay.
So one of the benefits I've found with health coaching myself is just, essentially there's a few commodities in this world. We have time, there's money, and there's freedom. And having enough of all of those, people that probably have some of those and not others. The people who have all kinds of freedom, but they don't have any time or money. Or vice versa. They have some of those, but not all of them. And I think, when you have a life in balance is when you have enough money, enough time to use it doing what you want to do, and enough freedom to do it when you want to do it. And so I think when you look at your life, do you have the time, the money, the freedom, resources to do what you want to do, and to live the life and create the legacy you're looking to do? Taking a really heavy look at that and just say, okay, if I keep doing what I'm doing now, I can really only expect to get what I'm getting now. And is that where I want to go? And I think if your answer to that is no, then I would encourage you to have a different conversation with Dr. Brosfield or myself or any coach that's invited you to talk about health coaching, and look at what's possible with health coaching as that other little thing that kind of helps glue everything together in your life. It doesn't have to, it's not an extra thing. It really can be the the centrifuge of what makes things work for you.
Perfect. Yeah, I was just going to say, that's perfectly said, Robert. What I wanted to add to that is just that a lot of times we have people that want to help other people, and they'll sort of set down that road in some ways that are not really structured or not really focused. And I just want to encourage you that if you're interested in health coaching, or you think that you would like to help other people, just like Robert was describing, that what I love about the business that Robert and I are in is that there is a structured plan, and it makes it really simple to have a structured plan where there are predictable outcomes, not only for my clients. Like, I know that every client that follows our program is going to have certain success when they follow the program. But what I also know is that our coaches have certain success when they follow the program of coaching and learning as coaches. So there's a very structured program in how our coaches learn with us and how we move them forward. And so if you've tried health coaching in other ways, or you've been a trainer, or you've been a person, even, as a physician, I didn't have a structured program for years. So when we found and became part of a structured program that makes a lot of sense, it has made our outcomes way more predictable. So I just want to invite you that no matter what your experience has been in the past with helping people, give it a try with our structured program. We're looking for other people that are like-minded people who want to help get America healthy. So we would love to have you join our team.
Have a great week. We'll be back on here next week.
Absolutely. We'll see you same time, same station in a week.
Good night.